I'm Charlie Bright of Gold Derby, and today I'm speaking with Robin Beauchesne and Justin Raleigh, the department head makeup artist and prosthetic designer, respectively, for FX's Impeachment, American Crime Story. First question is to you, Robin. When you sign on to a project like this, what are the first steps you take in order to get these looks down?
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for this opportunity. And it was when I first got the call to work on Impeachment, I was very, very excited about all the different characters that are involved. And first of all, you start to do all your research, looking up all the, pictures and trying to put side to side and see what we have to do as far as replicating all these authentic historical characters. So, just picking something like putting side to side different characters where we're like, do we want to do facelifts? Do we want to do contacts? Do we want to do prosthetics? How are we going to change these people to look the best that they can, and give the essence of that person without going really over the top, but kind of like giving the essence of the person that we're trying to replicate. But a lot of research goes into it, watching a lot of documentaries, talking within the department and figuring out like how, all the different ways that we can do it. And also talking to the actors and seeing how they feel and how far they want to go with, and we had such an amazing cast and everyone was like, let's go for it. And everybody that walked out of our trailer basically was so grateful. And, they would tell us, the makeup and hair department, that, basically, thank you for helping us to create the character, and it helped me to be able to perform the best that I could. And they were so grateful for that. So I love having these opportunities and these challenges working on a show like this, so that, I love trying to replicate these characters and make these people come to life. So, but yes, a lot of research goes into it, and it's a collaboration between a lot of people and a lot of makeup tests.
And Justin, I would say question to you, but also in terms of the prosthetics, what sort of the first steps you take in order to get those looks down?
So I was contacted pretty early on in this process, just knowing, Ryan Murphy obviously has a history with doing prosthetics and doing likenesses for his shows. So he knew we needed considerable time to develop Sarah Paulson's look. That was our number one goal. And I had worked with Sarah on American Horror Story Freak Show. We did prosthetics for her for that. We did the twins, and we did several other prosthetics in the show. So I had a history with working with them. In tandem with myself, they had also invited in four-time Academy Award winner Greg Canham. And Greg and I have a long history with each other. It's sort of a mentorship relationship. He's a good friend, but he's also been a mentor in my career. So it was great to have him come on. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to carry on with the show. He started a little bit with us in early designs, and then, COVID hit and all those kind of things really sort of changed the environment for us. So I continued and held the torch through the rest of the process going on. But really for us, it was trying to figure out that amalgamation of Sarah and Linda Tripp, and how do you tackle this without completely obliterating Sarah Paulson? Obviously, Sarah's got a huge fan base. She wants to be comfortable in the look as well, so you don't want to completely bury her in prosthetics. And it's for multiple reasons. One, it can look sort of overly done when you do that. Two, it can feel constricting to a degree. So that can affect the performance potentially. And three, it's just time. She was in that makeup well over 100 times. So we had to make sure that this was a very efficient process, from prosthetics to hair to Robin. And it was really, a dance between the three of us, three teams, to kind of put this all together. So early on, it was trying to figure out the smartest approach with that. We did a lot of different variations that we tested early on, before COVID and then after COVID, when we were allowed to come back to work after the shutdowns. And then after that, we got into Clive Owen and Annalee Ashford. to get those tests going pretty much right after we got back from the COVID shutdown.
And Justin, my next question is to you. Do you find it more or less challenging to develop prosthetics for characters that are based on real life people as opposed to completely fictional characters that are just made up?
Creating a likeness is probably the most difficult thing you can do. It is one of the most challenging things you can do. One, we have a very smart, savvy audience that has access to the internet. So it's very easy for them to go and look up an image of who we're trying to recreate. They can go look up, Bill Clinton, or look up Linda Tripp, and really see what that person really looked like and see if we, hit the mark or not. So with that type of challenge, you have to be very precise and you have to be very subtle in your approach. Where if you were doing a totally new character or just sort of aging someone arbitrarily, we kind of, yes, everyone knows what an old person should look like, and there is a degree of accuracy and detail that has to be put into that to make sure that it looks authentic. But there's no source reference. There's not a comparison image to compare that to. So anytime you have that where you can compare it to a living, actual historical person, the heat is on, as they would say. You really have to bring your A game, and you have to think about it in multiple ways. You have to think about actors' comfort. You have to think, as a producer, how much time is it going to take to develop that look every single day, and what are your budgetary constraints and time frames. So there's a lot to consider into going in with one of those approaches, and really trying to create that look with as minimal prosthetics as possible is usually my approach. So we can try and retain as much of the actor. And I always tell our performers when they come in that I'm never going to make you look exactly like that person, even if you're already very close to that person. The anatomy is just too different from one person to the other. So the best that we can create is a very good approximation and likeness of that person, but it's an amalgamation of whoever the actor is and the person that we're trying to recreate. And more so, we lean a bit more towards the actor because the studios are spending quite a bit of money to have these performers in front of camera. You don't want to completely lose them.
And Robin, is there? Does the same apply to you in your field, specifically of makeup?
Pretty much, yes. I actually I agree with Justin 100% on like everything that he said. I was right on, as far as we don't want to do so much that it's going to take away from their performance, or from like I mentioned earlier about having the essence of that person, versus trying so hard to make them look like the person. Sometimes it goes against you, or it goes against the character, and then it becomes too much, and then it's distracting. And so it's the little subtleties, like an eyebrow change, or on Judith Light and Edie Falco, we used lifts, around the eyes to, for Edie, who played Hillary, we rounded out the eyes up around the top so that she had more of a rounder eye like Hillary. Neck lifts and jaw lifts to give more of a structured jaw. Like with Sarah Paulson, we thinned out I blocked out her lips and thinned out her lips, which, because Linda Tripp had she had a different shaped lip. So just the little subtleties of like blocking out the lips and reshaping the lips. Sarah, she actually, and I was thrilled that she actually went that route, but she bleached out her eyebrows and we thinned out the eyebrows. So that way we were able to reshape her eyebrows to give her a different shape and a different form around her eyes. So, it's like those little subtleties is what makes the characters come together, and it works.
And so, Robin, I'll send this next question to you first. Was there a character for whom it was more challenging than others to develop the right makeup look for?
It's hard to, each person had its own design and specific look. Sarah Paulson you know, absolutely. I mean, it was, you know, between the prosthetics and having the hair and everything all had to match up. Everything all had to, it clicked. Sarah was challenging. It was, you know, it's like after everything was done with the prosthetics, going in and tying her her foundation in with the colors with the prosthetics. And really, you know, doing a lot of highlight around the eyes and around the eyebrow bone to kind of give her more of an appearance that she was heavier. So it tied in with the neck piece. So, and also highlighting her jawline and around her eyes. So there was a lot of like highlight and shadow and character makeup that kind of tied into getting her character. Judith Light she was, you know, everything was like from the 90s. So, I mean, it was a lot of lashes, a lot of different, like everybody had lots of nails, different nail changes. Let's see, my notes. Annalee Ashford, who played Paula Jones, she had a very, like a signature iconic look from the 90s, like where her eye, the real Paula Jones used to wear an eyeliner that was very distinct on the top and bottom. And then she also used like a highlight. So we discussed with Annalee about how do we want to play this off? Do we want to kind of change her makeup as she's progressing, which is what we did. But we decided to keep her eyeliner because that was the one thing that was like her signature look that she wasn't willing to give up. So we kind of carried that throughout until she had her nose, she had a nose job and she changed her whole look completely. But each character had its own, you know, what's the word? This is where I get trapped. Justin, help me out. But each character basically had its own design, and it's hard to really nail down one specific character because everyone had so much going on. We had you know, Margot Martindale, she had a very specific look too, and we lightened up her eyebrows and changed her eyebrow shape. Did a lot of highlight and shadow on her, thinned out her lips. We had Annalee Ashford, Paula Jones with we did her makeup around the prosthetic nose. Beanie Feldstein, you know, we had to do a lot of different looks with her. As far as, you know, as her emotions changed throughout, as the story, you know, revolved around Bill Clinton, we made her look a little bit more weathered or you know, like she'd been crying and she's going through a lot of these emotional states and such. So each character had a lot of little things going on. If that makes sense.
And what about you, Justin?
I mean, to Robin's point, each one of them had their own challenges. And I would say, you know, Sarah was probably the most intense challenge, but that was also our initial challenge right off the get-go for all of us, really. That set the tone, really, because Clive Owen didn't show up until nearly 6 weeks, 8 weeks after she had started filming, you know. So we had a little time to develop him. We had started on his process before the COVID shutdowns, but we didn't test any of his stuff until well into principal photography. With Sarah. So with Sarah, I think we started much fuller initially. We started with a much closer likeness, I would say, when it comes to the weight gain and the fullness of her cheeks. And really, ultimately, I think we resculpted her look 4 different times, the overall look. And then we ended up resculpting the nose an additional 3 times on top of that, just to get the edges exactly where we wanted it and get the shape exactly the way that Sarah envisioned it. You know, I think we kind of went back and forth on, and you're talking like very subtle, minor differences, you know, but enough that it warranted a full sculptural change. It couldn't really be done as an additive piece of makeup with highlights and shadows, where, you know, when we got rid of the cheek pieces, Robin ended up ultimately having to do a lot more sort of highlights and shadows, as she mentioned, to try and fill her face out. Well, we ended up with Sarah going from kind of full coverage, where we had full cheeks, full neck, chin, nose, that all got whittled down over 4 or 5 tests down to a nose and a neck. And even those two, once we got to that point, I think we still resculpted the neck one more time just to get better edge placement and get the fullness the way we wanted. And then we resculpted the nose, mostly because her glasses hit very specific areas. So we had to deal with just technical placement of edges. Once we had her established, she was pretty smooth sailing at that point. You know, little adjustments. You know, her look kind of, for us, stayed continuous through the rest of the shoot until she loses weight, goes through plastic surgery, all that towards the end. So once she was established on our end, it was really pretty much the same systematic approach every single day, subtle adjustments. Robin really had the meat of it, and Robin and Michelle dealing with hair and the makeup changes on a regular basis, continuity wise, throughout the rest of the season. The next biggest challenge for us was Clive. Clive he's not a very good likeness to Bill Clinton. You know, they have very different structures. I've worked with Clive multiple times. We have a great working relationship, so there was a level of trust and camaraderie there. So going into it, his goal was really like, we wanted to nail the handsome quality that Bill Clinton had, that swagger that he was known for. So that was the biggest challenge. You know, Clive has a very different anatomy than Bill Clinton had. He has a slightly wider nose, where Clinton had a thinner nose. He had fuller eyebrows, where Clinton has very sparse eyebrows. So there were some subtle things, but very large things that we had to try and tackle to change his anatomy additively. You know, with prosthetics, whatever we can, we're not subtracting. Whatever we're doing is an addition to their own anatomy. So finding a balance to get the nose to look right, and to feel thinner on Clive was a huge challenge. I think we resculpted that nose 4 times to get it in a shape that we were all happy with. We started with him with cheeks and a lot of different heavier coverage of prosthetics to try and youthen him a little bit, to get closer to Bill Clinton's age at the time, where Clive was around the same age, but maybe just their anatomy is different. He's got a wider face. So we were trying to make him look thinner, adjust his jawline. And ultimately, we just decided it was pulling away from the character. It kind of bordered the line of a caricature. And that's the last thing we ever want. So from there, we just scaled back to a full brow with hand punched eyebrows in it and a nose. And then everything else just became makeup at that point. And, Susie his hairstylist provided a beautiful wig to go with it. And we made some adjustments to the wig to kind of reduce his forehead. Bill Clinton had a very short forehead, where Clive has a much taller forehead. So there's just little subtle adjustments through multiple tests to kind of find that balance where it looks like Clinton as the essence of Clinton. Clive felt confident in the look. You know, he didn't feel covered. He didn't feel like it was garish in any way, which is, what you need if you're going to be Bill Clinton. You need a level of confidence in that character. And with Annalee Ashford, she was honestly one test and done. She's just really amazing casting for the character.
Amazing.
Incredible performance. And really all we did was a nose tip, and we did some adjustments to her teeth, and the rest is hair and makeup between Robin and team, which they nailed. And Annalee was we did one test, Ryan signed off, and that was it. So she was our easy one.
She was
Clive
easy.
and Sarah had a lot more work to do.
So, and just to add, as far as Annalee, playing Paula Jones, I have to say it was hard, because as a makeup artist, you tend to want to go, you go with making sure that everything looks kind of symmetrical and everything looks a certain way. And going into designing her look, making that real hook eyebrow and having them off a little bit and really making them a little bit extreme so that it looked thinner in appearance. And, definitely lots of lip gloss. We had, and then she had her braces, we had the braces on her. And I don't know, she just was an amazing actress, and she's was such a delight to work with. But yeah, the braces, the lip gloss, the different lips, she had that iconic, the MAC, vamp. We did we tried to bring out a lot of the the original colors that we used in the 90s, so we can replicate all the specific looks, you know, for that time period. So.
Well, Robin and Justin, thank you so much for joining us. We wish you all the best over the next couple of weeks. And to all of our viewers, please like this video, smash that subscribe button, and go to goldderby.com to make your Emmy predictions before the ceremony on September 12th. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.